Going live, yeah. Wait for some folks to get on. Hey, what's going on, B&H Railroad? How you doing today? We'll start here in a few minutes. Going to wait for a few more people to show up, and we'll get started on talking about the diorama a little bit, the scenery progress, as well as we do some rock carving today. Oh, good. Nothing better than being home. So hang out with us, and well, yeah, we'll get started in a few minutes. Well, we're glad you're here, buddy. Have you done any layout work at all yet, B&H? Good for you, buddy. What does the B&H stand for? Oh, nice. I'm ready to get started on my layout because it's gonna be mostly yards and industry. Oh, nice. Named after your grandfather. That's awesome, bud. All right, it's about 6 minutes into it, and we're gonna get started here. And everybody shows up. It's all good. I'm Joey with Touch of the Brush Model Weathering. For everybody here and who is participating with the live video, thank you for joining me. And today we're going to talk about this diorama that finished up this past week. We started it last week, and you can see the progress of the diorama here. It's almost done. We still got some final touches to make and add to it. Um, and today, as well as talking about this diorama, we're going to do some carving, and we're going to be carving rocks out of foam, regular styrofoam, and the pink foam that's commonly used for train layouts and for home building and actually it's really used well. It's good for using for making scenery, mountains, and I was always nervous about carving rocks out of foam, and watched a few videos, and they showed how easy it really is to make them, and decided to do it on my own, and I will never look back. I do have a lot of casts made from plaster, and they work just as well, but this is less time consuming, and you just need some basic tools that you can use to carve rocks. So first we'll get started here on the diorama. Last week we were building this diorama, and it represents the one of the scenes from the movie End of the Line. And the movie came out in 87, I believe, or 88. It's about two railroad employees of the fictional Southland Railroad that's based out of the fictional town of Clifford, Arkansas. They lose their jobs because the company goes to air freight, and so they shut down the business for freight operations, for railroad operations. And so they take a locomotive of theirs, and here's the locomotive that's represented, number 2377. And I finally finished the locomotive. Though actually the only thing left are the number boards. I had the Southland logo on the side here, and there's a scene where they are being chased by police cars, and they decided, well, we're not gonna be caught, and we're gonna pursue our mission and talking to the chairman of the board in Chicago. So they take a locomotive from Clifford and they run the locomotive all the way up to Chicago. And there's a scene in the movie, they actually blast right through a police car. And here's a picture of it that we showed from last week of it being they blast through, and that's the scene they have. And so I created this diorama based on that scene from the movie. And so here is the vehicle being broken in half. I believe, let's see who makes it. I forgot who makes the actual vehicle. Um, and cut it in half. Took a lot of debris, well, made it from the cuttings of the car, as well as it took some basic leaves and pieces of wood or cardboard and stuff I just sprinkled on here to represent that the debris from the car being um, blasted through in half. And some parts of the car itself are still here, so I used those, painted some of them because it's mostly black. Spray painted the car white. It was originally black. And so here you go. Here's the scene of what the car looks like. And it's just simple glue, Elmer's glue, just glue everything down. If you could tell right here, there's some clear coating from the clear glue I used, and I was kind of not satisfied with the way that turned out, but I realized later on, well, if they're gonna blast through a train, I mean, a blast through a car, obviously oil and gasoline has leaked through somewhere. So, so actually that's what's represented here. Here are the doors, are positioned just like in the movie from the scene itself. The doors are right here, and so they're positioned the same way right here. Okay. And when we made the last week, when we weathered the track, and we did the basic ground turf. We used the some of the rocks and the sifted ash, and as you can see here, it doesn't look like anything different than using any of the ground turf that you buy from Woodland Scenics or Scenic Express. Now, mind you, the grass here, the colors, the fine turf I used here, all the different colors, that is from Woodland Scenics. I've used that. Scenic Express Super Trees are over here, and all the different kind of lichens and stuff from various manufacturers, and stuff from Hobby Lobby and from Michael's, that I just mix and match all together. Now, I did add a few touches of mine, personal touches. I found a few old plastic vehicles that were bent or broken in half, that really I'm not going to use except for a scrap load or for a scrap yard. And so in the corners here, I did add a car that's all rusted out, so it looks like an abandoned vehicle. Probably see, I'm going to try to move up around here. Ooh. There it is right there. And on Friday, if you're on Instagram and follow me on Instagram, I'll be going live on how I do rust and rust effects using acrylic paints and watercolor paints. Simple rust. And this right here is a piece of a pole that we used to hold up all of our windows in the house, and broke off. I found it in the garbage. I took it out and I painted it and made it rust color to look like an old propane tank. So again, stuff around the house, nothing that's you really have to buy or purchase. And the ballast is all the ash that I sifted out, all the fine rock, and I sifted out, and I made ballast out of it. The road is styrene, simple styrene strips. You can see there, held up by HO scale road bed, glued, and I leveled it out with the track itself. And yeah, that's the scene. It was took me about a couple of nights to work on, as far as the scenery goes and the ballasting. And actually, oh yeah, I forgot about this. You have a little piece of the car right there too. Another half of the same car, just cut in half over there. So that's the diorama here from the scene of the movie End of the Line. And again, very simple. A lot of stuff that was used from outside. That's free, especially if you're quarantined or you're locked down, you can't go out of your house, or you're not allowed to go anywhere, or you can't go anywhere, or afraid to go anywhere. You can at least find stuff around your house as well as around your property outside, and you can use it for building your model railroad. So now we're going to start learning how to carve rocks out of foam, and I'm going to switch gears and put this on the other side, and we'll replace this diorama with another diorama. Okay, so here is our rock cut pre-cut rock cut. Now, the simplest tools is what I use to carve rocks, and I learned some of these techniques from watching some how-to videos and reading some magazines, articles in magazines, and what do you call it? I also found some techniques on my own that I like to that I actually learned from work from experience, and so basically this is just styrofoam and simple pink foam on top, just glued on, and I added some extra scrap pieces so you don't have to use full perfectly cut pieces to make these rock cut. So here we have the pink foam and you have the styrofoam. The materials I use are very simple. Simple kitchen knife, okay, a filer, which I had for years, and to clean up the mess you want a brush and a pan, dustpan, and you might want a vacuum cleaner too when it's all said and done. So we're gonna get started here, and really it's honestly just going in different strokes and carving. So, and I decided to do something where you have the foam not exactly perfectly straight and flush like this side here. I have it sticking out, so to show you don't have to have the foam perfectly aligned unless you want to. But rocks are not sometimes exactly proportioned perfectly, and so from here you can do all different shapes and textures and a variety of different carvings. So I'm gonna get started here. So simple. A downward motion could give you a nice clean surface to start with. You can use a hot knife, but again, you want a rough edge because I mean, there aren't many rocks that aren't as smooth yet. You use a filer, and you want to really get in there. So now we're just doing something simple like that. You're already starting to get some kind of shape coming out of the rock. And when you add different scenery, as far as foliage and trees and paint, they really pop out and really look like something. And right now you're just doing a basic carving, and it's just simple. It's just taking a filing and just going across like just sweeping motion. And see, you can even out all the rocks and have them flush, just like the other side. So you don't have to have them perfect. So you have scrap pieces of foam, you don't have to have them perfectly aligned every time. You could carve them into the shape you want them. So for instance, let's do something. I'm gonna make an indent here. This does take some muscle. So, thank you, buddy. So let's say, for instance, right here in the center, we're going to have a waterfall. You can see what it looks like if I'm above. The water's going to come down this way. And so you're wondering about down here. Now, let's say, for instance, it's glued down already on your layout. Some of the pieces are still not glue or dry yet. All right. I don't like this stuff because it makes 10 times more of a mess than the pink foam. But it's still easy to work with, so you still can work with it. So here's the shape. We're getting there. We're getting somewhere here. And you can use a small filer, all different types of filers. You know, whatever works for you, and for different carvings, for different shapes. It all depends on what you have. Again, I'm using stuff that you can basically find around the house. Well, if you can't go to the store. So I'm going to go in here. And with the knife, you go really inside deep and make some nice cuts in here. Also, some scrapings. Can make a nice rough surface to start with. All right. Always clean it off. You can see what you're working with. You see what the shapes are starting to look like. And this is based off of anything particular in the country or the world. Just what I'm looking at here and trying to see what I would like to have or make it look like. So now we got the pieces on top. Again, very simple. Oop, flew right off. That's not finished glued yet. That's okay, I'll glue soon. Some of these pieces I glue at the last minute just to add on to it and not finished yet. Okay, so that could be the front. Again, you can put trees and rocks and all that kind of stuff in here. And have the waterfall come down this way. So there's all that. Now we're going to go to the other section, the other side. And we're going to even this out here. And we're going to do some individual rock carvings. So we're going to even this out here. that side. Let's go to this side. Elmer's glue is good to use. Make sure it dries overnight. I do prefer liquid nails. It dries quicker and it's more sturdy. Like I said, it makes a mess. So I have a dustpan and a brush ready, vacuum cleaner ready to go. Okay, so we kind of have a basic shape here. Everything's pretty much lined up correctly except for this spot here. We're going to get in here and I'm going to do some serious carving. Oop, right out there, breaking apart, of course. That's why I'm holding it down here. Glue's not fully dry yet. Okay. Just that simple. Okay. Get this out a little bit. And another way to do this is, as well, is if you want in the center, you can add some screws, maybe 2, 3, 4-inch screws. Screw it down. That's why it stays in, it holds it. I should have done that. I didn't think about that actually earlier, but that's a good way to hold it too. Of course, glue it. Definitely glue it before you screw everything together. Now, add this here. All right. Okay, so what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna lower this a little bit, get really underneath it, show you how to do some carving. Thanks, B&H. Appreciate it, buddy. So you take your regular kitchen knife and you start carving stuff out. So now I'm gonna go a little closer here, so we'll get closer to the camera. Get my trash can. Now, sometimes you don't have to throw this out. You can dilute some gray paint and dump this in a bucket with the gray paint and some water, and you can dye this scrap of foam and make it into rocks. And so you have to use realistic rocks. You can use just simple foam that's very light, and it won't be as heavy. But I have so much of the realistic rocks, we don't need to use this. All right, so I'm gonna get here now. I'm gonna move my chair over a little bit so I'll get a little closer. So I want to get as close as possible. You guys can see what we're doing here. Okay, lower just a little more. Ah, much better. Okay. Knife. So now right here, there's a little indent already. So we're gonna go based off on that. So. Making some lines. See, we're gonna making some contours here into the foam itself. Okay, let's go to the other side here. Now, so say for the top here, we want to make some different pieces. Some layered rock here. So now you got some carvings here on the side. It shows like individual rocks. And also you could do the same thing down here. And basically you're just going deep into the foam, making a little bit of a gap on each end. Now we're going to come over here and do the same thing. We're going to make this one whole rock itself. That's just a boulder up there. And don't forget, when you paint this, it's you could pick and choose where you want exactly where your rocks to go, or you want the whole thing to be a rock cut. It's on you and what you want as far as your scene to look like with the trees and the scenery. So for me, right here is going to be one big rock, and here may be some bushes. I may put it over here. And don't be afraid of what it looks like, because like I said, after you paint it, you could put grass and turf on there and trees and other different kind of paints. So now you got your original rock right here. This whole thing right here. From above, on the sides, you can see all the different shapes and textures. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Put that there. If you look at, I have a playlist on my channel. There's how-to videos, and there are a few of them how to carve rocks on my O scale layout. So, but I really want to. You can check those videos as well. But I want to do something live for you guys, so it shows this is the process without editing. And you can see it's a totally different ball game than editing some footage and using some movie magic. Okay, so there you go. That's what the front looks like. And now it looks, I'm sorry, right here it looks pretty flat. So I'm going to turn it around here. Again, I'm kind of cheating here, but this on the layout, you can use a knife to do the same thing. If you have some smooth surfaces, it's okay. Not all rock is rough and bumpy and this way. If I was doing this on a layout, I'd be constantly sweeping and vacuuming at the same time. Okay, we're going to go to the next side. And we're going to do the same thing. Glue will fix that. Well, actually, we can use that somewhere else. So anytime something breaks, it's just really just simple as taking some glue and gluing it somewhere else if you wanted to. We'll use that somewhere. Okay, we got that side. Next is this side here. still in that spot. And so just with these simple two tools, a filer and a knife, able to make some rocks and some contours for your railroad, or for scenery diorama, which we'll be doing here. And so the next step, so we're running on 42 minutes. Is to really wipe and clean the entire diorama and clean off the foam on your just recently sculpted foam, all the little pieces here, all the scrap and debris. It does make a mess. Make sure you have a vacuum and a broom ready to go. Maybe we'll get you some painting. And you can really see with the paint how everything will start sticking out and stand out, and all the rocks will stand out individually and as a collective unit. Okay. Brush over here. Paint. There's a white base paint, the cheap stuff from Walmart, from Home Depot or Walmart. I forgot actually where I got it from. Just a base coat. Okay, that's that. I mean, you really want to get in there and really clean out all the small pieces, because otherwise, when you start painting and really getting into the nooks and cranny of your rocks, you'll start seeing all those loose stuff, and it'll just be a mess on your paint. And you just want to save some time doing it. Okay. And the glue's still wet on this foam carvings here, but on the rock cut, but that's okay. Sweeping off everything to my garbage pail here. I'm full of it. What's going on, Gaffer? Nice to see you, brother. We are carving rocks out of foam. I do have a couple of how-to videos already, but I want to do something live for everybody, show how really simple it is, and doing it in live, in real time, show how it doesn't take that long to actually carve these rocks. And we're in the process of finished carving, but now we're going to start some base painting, a coat of prime paint here. Simple white or gray. I won't do gray. We'll do a light color. A simple color will work. Anything that's a base, will do the trick. This is a white paint. It's got to be mixed up a little more. It's been in the box for a while. There we go. All right. And here, let's get a little brush. I think it's over here actually. Here it is. You'll need a really fine brush to do this work with. Anything will really do the trick. An old brush will work. We're going to just do the top here so you get an idea of what it's going to look like. And actually, I'm going to sit right next to you all. That's so I can see what I'm doing. And a thick coat will do the trick. You might have to do a second coat depending on how much it bleeds into the foam. And the whole entire rock, all the rock, the surfaces, everything gets covered in a base coat. And see, I'm putting on really, really thick, dabbing it in there to get all the nook and crannies. Hey, what's going on, SC70 Container Man? What's going on, brother? Mr. Roy, hope you're staying safe and doing well on the road. Thank you for your service as a trucker and keeping the country moving. So we just recently carved this section of foam that is just slapped together and with glue, and we're making rocks today. And we may make a little diorama out of this. We'll see. Anything will be painted and probably some scenery work on it later on. Is there anything else? What would you guys prefer as far as a live video, as far as a subject? Because we could do the scenery, we could do weathering, talk about rail fanning, if you guys want to do. Let me know in the comments below, or even on here in the live chat, what would you like to see for the next live video. Because we started off with just a live test last week and did the beginning steps of the diorama from the movie End of the Line, and today we showed you what I have worked on, and today we're also doing the carving. So it's kind of a two-thing subject here. So we got 48 minutes. All right, we got plenty of time. It doesn't really take long to do this little section. If you check out my how-to playlist, I do have a few videos on my O-scale layout and how I carve the rocks, and for the scenery in those videos as well. This is, again, more of a real-time scenario. Again, this is the base coat of paint that will dry a lot lighter than what it is. It's a base of white paint. It's kind of a little of a grayish color, actually. And the reason why you want a base coat of paint is that it will be easier to put on your diluted pigments. It is from scenery, from Woodland Scenics, those color pigments. I use a lot of those. Or you can dilute your regular paint from the house. Gray paints or mix and match paints, whatever looks more realistic to you and what you want to use for your rocks. And I just got paint all over my arm. Sweet. See, I'm going pretty quick on doing this. It doesn't take long. Now, if you have a monstrous mountain, then it may take a little more time. Good news is I have editing software that so far seems to be working really well. I edited a practice video with a bunch of rail fanning clips from Northwest Arkansas and Eastern Oklahoma. That I think that just finally finished. I'm gonna see how it could be uploaded on YouTube. So I'll be back to doing some editing videos. And I'll still do some live video. We'll still do some live videos, But in between the live videos, I'll have some uploads of videos that I've edited. I got a few weathering videos that I have to finish editing, so we can get some of that weathering videos up there. I have a couple of scale train locomotives I have recently done for a client, as well as a Proto 2000, and there's a few other videos actually of some of the locomotives that I have recently weathered for clients. I am still taking clients. My business is still open, and if you want anything weathered, painted, or decaled, or oil free, just send my email to you in the comments below. So, and as well as in the description, so you have my email. You can email me if you want surface done. I am also a ticket agent and work administration, and also I do media for the Arkansas Missouri Railroad. We will be doing a virtual, actually we're doing a whole week's worth of videos for the week of National Train Week in the first week of May. And I'll so stay tuned for that. If you're interested in Arkansas Missouri Railroad, we'll be doing some train chases, as well as a shop tour in Springdale. And we will also be doing some interviews with railroaders and the conductors for the excursion trains. We're going to be featuring the Sugar Creek Model Railroad Club in Missouri. They have some videos of their layouts and some of the shows they put on. They do a lot of train shows, but they have the main one in Northwest Arkansas. It was actually the last week of February they had theirs up in Bentonville, Arkansas, and Sugar Creek Model Railroad Club. They're the ones that hosted that train show, which is a really nice train show. They have a nice setup, a nice display. So we're going to have some model railroad videos. We're going to have a lot of historians and interviews with our president of the railroad, as well as the CEO of the company. And we're going to have a few of our conductors talk a little about model trains, as well as history of the Arkansas Missouri Railroad. So check that out. I will send a link in when it gets closer, so you guys can have the link, so you guys can check out those videos. We'll be posting a video once a day on Facebook, and we'll have a collective playlist of all those videos for National Train Day. And we're going to be doing stuff, like I said, for the week. Okay. Now, with the paint, just about, it's still wet. If you want to, if you're cool with the color you have, you can even add some ground cover on top. So, like, for instance, all this is pretty wet. I have a thick coat of paint on here. Okay, let's see here. Missed some spots in there. Oops. Like I said, it's not glued down yet. I'm going to get some screws and screw some of the screwed in here so it'll stay together. Even using a small brush will do a trick too. Really get in there. All right, let's lower this a little bit. Get a view of, now you can see all your carvings, how they stick out. without breaking a course. All right, let's go to the other side. Show here. This up a little bit. There we go. Go really close. Now you can see all the different rocks, all the different the carvings and cuts. You get all the foliage on bushes and shrubbery, and in between here, trees are gonna be on top, and some ground cover on top of here. To me, this is again, as a base color. This looks gray, but it's pretty much white. Yeah, Roy. Yeah, I mean, it's so simple, and you save money on glue when you can use wet paint. It's so much easier. And actually, I have right here. I have some. We'll do that now because these rocks are going to get individual colors, which we'll do in another live video. And again, just let me know in the comments below, or even on here during the live feed, what would you like for the next live video. We could do weathering. We could continue doing the rock work as well as painting and doing the scenery for the rocks. What do you call it? So anything you want to do. Hey, B&H, thank you for hanging out with me and us. And you guys take care, brother. Enjoy cooking. Okay. I have so much of this stuff. There you go. All right, so we got some of that here. Nice base. This is actually sawdust. And a good base for ground foam. So you get a look up there. And you really could see, and up there could be trees and stuff, so all that space would be blocked. You won't even see it. So all right, we're at 59 minutes. I try to do the most an hour. For the next video, we'll let me know in the comments below. Like I said, to really see what would you like to see for the next live video. We could do weathering, scenery work. Continue with this diorama, the small diorama here, and build up all the scenery. We can also do weathering as well. Thanks, Will. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I haven't done scenery in a long time. It's been a while. I'm actually in the process of editing a video on how I made a mountain for the Tennessee Valley Model Railroad Club when I lived in Tennessee. I think I finished that around August or July last year, and I'll edit the videos for that, so it shows how I made the trees as well as you want to do rock scenery? Cool. All right, we'll do some rock scenery next week. We'll continue with this little diorama here, and let me quickly show you what I did with the other one. Oh, let me get the other one really quickly before we end. And I mean, I love scenery work. Scenery has been my favorite thing, and then I got into weathering. So scenery was always first for me. All right. Let me go. Let me raise you guys up a little bit here. Ooh, take your leg. There we go. So here's some of my scenery work. This is a diorama I built from the movie End of the Line. This is the scene where the locomotive blasts through the police car, And here's a picture of the scene. That's right here, representing right here. That's the car blasting through. And there's the movie. Ooh, there we go, much better. And I do have the Missouri Pacific engine they use. I modified this Athearn Genesis model. It's DC. I got to convert to DCC. But yeah, it goes like that. Yeah, well, I know. I remember you saying you were in North Carolina. Maybe eventually, when all this stuff ends, we could meet up somewhere. I like the rail fan out in North Carolina. Heck, maybe do some model railroading out there too. So here's the. So this is where the locomotive blasts through. Added the spark arresters on top. Add the logo, the Southland logo on the sides. And the decal works. Whether the locomotive, like the prototype pictures, if you type in end of the line, and diesel locomotive from the end of the line movie, you'll see some of the pictures. They use the old Mopac engines, so I have a few of these engines. I do collect Conrail, love Conrail, but I'm going to be modeling the Southland Railroad, and so that's going to be the next project of mine. And the beginning of the video I showed a little bit, but really quickly I'll show what I did here. All of this ground foam is ground cover is real rock that I have gathered outside and sprinkled the whole thing. If you watch my first live introduction live video from last week, that's where we started off. We actually ended the video with that, and I weathered the track, show how I weathered the track, and it was just a blank board. And over the week, I added some of the super trees that I have here, as well as some polyfiber that are in stuffed animals. I got a bag of it for $3 with free shipping on eBay, and what do you call it? You can make mountains and mountains of trees, and probably a huge layout of that stuff. And my next video for editing will be the scenery, how I built the trees and made the scenery for the layout for the train club, rather. Tore up a Mopac. Actually, dude, I actually got this locomotive with no Mopac logo on it. It was blank, and that's why I got it. So, in the movie, they use old Mopac locomotives. So, and of course, in the front, there's the what do you call it? There's the rotary beacon. It's right here, where the engine blasts through the cop car. The beacon is actually on the locomotive in the movie. So the reason why all the number boards are screwed up is because they shot up the locomotive in the movie, and so they ruined the front. And it's kind of hard to see, but I'll have some pictures on Instagram and my next update video, monthly update that I do. I'll have some close-ups of the locomotive. So what I did is I cut the car in half, and what pieces that broke off of it, which are plenty of it here, I used that as debris from the car exploding. Some old pieces of parts that I found all over the floor, some leaves, and some pieces of wood that I cut up, chopped up, and just blasted on there and glued it down. There's some pieces of the other beacon is over here. The doors of the car over here from another car. That's from a little plastic molded car that I found. You can see here without the locomotive falling, but it's right here. And over here you have a piece of an old car, and I'll flick it around. And right here, there's another vehicle, and I just made it into rust. I'll be doing a live Instagram video on how I create simple rust effects using acrylic paints and watercolors, gouache watercolor paints. The ballast is it's really just stuff right here. It's just ash and sifted stuff from rocks from just from the driveway or even side of the road, and I created the ballast with that. And again, it's just free stuff. And like you said, Will, it's just stuff that's it's real rock and real nature on the diorama that makes it even look real because it is real. So besides the turf, the grass flock, the next thing that have to be added are some tall grass and weeds on the sides here for that super detail. Some of the road still needs some touch-ups on the side of the road here. I do have crossing gates that have to go on the crossing gates on each side. But like the car and actually some in the beginning of the video I showed there's a little piece here. Where are we? There we are. Okay, so this right here is just a piece of a handle broke off of one of the poles that we used to hold up the windows in the house. And when that broke off, threw it out and I took it out the garbage saying, hey, well, I can make it look like an old propane tank. And that's exactly what I did. Use the same rust effects. Yeah, Will, it's so easy and it's outside. To use real rocks, I mean, I started scenery when I was like 16, 17 years old. So I didn't have a career job where I can afford woodland scenic stuff and scenic express stuff. So I found stuff in my backyard outside, on the grass or on the trees, and I used natural material. And that's how I started using natural material on all of my layouts as well as my dioramas. And even to this day, still do that. And now, since a lot of people are quarantined and or trying to save money, and they can't go out and spend money on woodland scenic supplies or scenic express supplies. Now, get me wrong, that stuff's phenomenal. I have a lot of it on this display, on this diorama, and but with people who really are money tight, but they're still working on the layouts, you can use stuff from outside and use it on a diorama here. So, hey Jerry, nice to see you, brother. Hope everything's well with you, man. Jeez, everybody's coming in now. And now I was supposed to end like 8 minutes ago, but that's okay. Yeah, well, it works and it looks great because it's real. So we'll be doing the same thing with the rocks as well. I wish I had. If you look back in my playlists, you look at the Iona subdivision and the Adirondack. I believe the Adirondack layout. The Adirondack Railroad O-scale layout. I do a lot of scenery work. You can show there. Yeah, don't I won't be tearing up my wife's couch cushions, that's for sure. Actually, I do have a lot of supplies. So we go outside and we digging up grass or roots. I use real roots. And for instance, I do have a box. Here's an example right here. And we'll end the video after I show this, but really quickly, here are roots right from outside. Oh, that's a super tree. And here's some roots, the small roots that I use to make trees with, and I'll show you an example of that right here. Where are you? This is a little messed up because it's been in a box, but I actually held its shape pretty well. So here is a tree I made, and it's on my O-scale videos. If you look at the playlist from the Adirondack Railroad O-scale layout, and some of the trees I made from in the Iona subdivision playlists, O-scale layouts, I use a lot of realistic materials. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it, brother. This is a real twig from outside, and this top here, all of this that's all real roots from outside in your backyard and from grass and or trees. And then I sprinkled the autumn leaves, clump foliage on top of it, and it made a tree just like that. And probably cost me probably $5 to make. Well, if you make tons of trees, it probably cost you probably 20 cents a tree because everything is free except for the foliage on top of it. And you can collect sawdust and dye your sawdust to create grass. That's another way you can do it. Or you could chop. You can use a blender and make fine dirt out of dry leaves, brown leaves. Again, here's the polyfiber. Okay, stuff you find in what do you call it? Yeah, man, roots from tomato plants, they work really good as well. And we're making some tomatoes, growing some tomatoes. So maybe later on in the year I'll sneak some of that out. But here's a simple polyfiber you get from stuffed animals, and it's how you can make bushes, or you can make trees out of it. And I've done that too. So they can find something here. I will do. I will definitely be doing a live video on tree making. So we'll definitely do something like that. So here's those pesky. Yes, Jerry. All these are going to YouTube when they're done. You'll see they'll be shared and posted on my the recent uploads for sure. These are these pesky tree armatures from Woodland Scenics that nobody could stand. And so the best way to do it is I use the polyfiber. And Roy, take care, brother. Thank you for stopping in. Be safe on the road. I use the polyfiber on top, and so you can make trees just using these two materials. So, for instance, here's one I found here. So you can stretch it out. I'll do like just something quick. I mean, it's just so many different. Of course, it's just stuck tight. You want the fiber. The polyfiber is very, very fluffy and loose when you first start out. But, I mean, there's so many things you can do with that. And these are good for background trees. And if you want the realistic stuff in the foreground, I will use super trees. So, anyway, guys, I really appreciate everybody coming out here. Everybody, thank you for coming and showing up and hanging out with me a little bit. And everybody, stay safe, stay well, do everything you're supposed to do to stay healthy with you and your family and your loved marshmallow weathering again for next week. I'm going to try to do a 3 p.m. show as well. I will give an update on the community on my channel, the community part of my channel, the show I'm doing the next upload, the next live video. Sorry. In between, I'll definitely do some more videos in between that. Next week I'll be doing a lot of filming for the Arkansas Missouri Railroad. We're doing a lot of videos for National Train Day and for National Train Week coming up in May. So again, guys, take care, and thank you for hanging out with us. I am also part of the Model Railroading Live YouTube group. So I'm usually chatting with them on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We do Johnny's Train Talk on 8 o'clock at night. So I'm usually on there with those cats, with Ralph Renzetti and Andy Crawford, whoever really shows up. There's so many guys, but those are some of the guys that come on regularly, and they are phenomenal model railroaders, and they've been recognized by Ken Patterson and Model Railroad Hobbyist magazine. So these are pretty cool cats to hang out with. Also, I am doing a clinic for the National Model Railroad Association on April 24th. I believe it's 10 p.m. Eastern Time or Central Time. I forget. I think it's 10 p.m. Central Time is when I'm doing the National Model Railroader Association's clinic for the virtual train show. That's a huge honor. I'm really blessed to be a part of that. And we'll be doing weathering for beginners. So I always like to give back to the hobby. Everybody knows that. And I was always a teacher. I was a drum teacher. I always taught the youngins, and I enjoy that. And so we have a lot of young people in the hobby who enjoy doing those kind of things and want to learn. So I'll be doing model railroads for beginners, as well as a lot of adults out there who are scared to make stuff look dirty or weathered. So we'll be doing some simple techniques that are friendly to the model as well as forgivable. So stay tuned for that. If you're part of the National Model Railroad Association Facebook page, we'll be doing Facebook Live all weekend, April 24th to the 25th. And I hope to see everybody there. We'll have a good time, and I'll do a nice, fun clinic showing how to weather and the simple stages of weathering. So anyway, guys, Joey G with Touch of the Brush Model Weathering. You guys take care and have a great week and stay safe and be blessed. Thank you.